All right, welcome back to our episode. Ryan here with Chaos MMA. Today we have on TNT sports reporter Caroline Pearce. Caroline, UFC 291, Salt Lake City, Utah. I mean, between Derek Lewis knockout, the Kevin Holland submission, Justin Gaethje. How would you recap that all? Like, what's like one good word to just sum it all up?
Think wow. And thanks for saying TNT Sports because we've literally just changed our name from BT Sports to TNT Sports. So I'm getting used to the new banner under which I'm broadcasting and interviewing. But it's probably one of the best fight cards I've attended in a long time. And it was finish after finish after finish from the prelims onwards. I think only two fights went the distance. And I don't know. I mean, I'd say two highlights. One from the highlight, Justin Gaethje. I think ending the night with that head kick knockout, reminiscent of Leon Edwards in Salt Lake City last time out. I mean, there was something in the water with the head kick knockouts there. One earlier in the night as well, and then finishing with Justin, and it was just a beautiful setup as well with that. He sort of hit it behind the jab, and it was beautiful. And then, but Derek Lewis, I think saving his career. It's at the end of his contract. He's a free agent now, and in front of Jorge Masvidal, he does the running across, heavyweight running across flying knee. So yeah, they were the two moments I think amongst many amazing ones that I was most excited about.
Yeah, it was just iconic. Like you said, Lewis doing the knockout in front of Masvidal. Last year in Utah, we saw the head kick knockout, and then this year we get it a year later. And what's even, kind of crazy is it's the guy's teammate, but he's on the other side of
I
it.
know. I know, and Kamaru was there actually. He was backstage. So when I was interviewing, various Justin, and actually there was a really nice moment. Kamaru's there, we're interviewing Justin, and then Dustin comes backstage, like showered and changed, and just kind of waiting in the wings. And he wanted to talk to Justin and just say congratulations and all the rest of it. So it was a really nice moment of respect. But Kamaru was there, and I spoke to him, and he was just really happy for Justin. Like he wasn't taking it as any kind of like scarring as to what happened, to him. He said he's like a brother to me, and he was just so happy for him. But yeah, kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, what an amazing night. I definitely want to talk about the main event later on, but let's just get started off with, Tony Ferguson, Bobby Green, Tony Ferguson, he goes on a 12 fight win streak. This guy was like on top of the world at one point, and now this is the sixth straight loss. Like,
Mm,
and I said to my friend before the fight, I said, this is like the one fight, I feel like he could win,
mm,
against Bobby Green,
yeah.
not as like tough as an opponent as, like a Chandler or Beneil Dariush. What were your
Mm.
thoughts on Tony's performance?
I thought there would be an I thought this was maybe an opportunity for Tony to get a win. Not, not anything, disrespectful towards Bobby Green whatsoever, incredible veteran of the sport himself. But I thought, matchup wise, maybe this is his opportunity. And there was definitely moments in that fight where he looked very good. Even against Michael Chandler, that first round, he looked really good. I think the eye poke, I'm not saying that necessarily changed the course of events, but I think that eye poke probably interrupted, what affected his vision and maybe took him a little while to recover from, but he was always going to fight on. There's no question Tony's gonna pull out at that point. And you just wonder, like, what next? Of course, with the 5 losses, he's fighting the best of the best in the division. And then with Bobby Green, a veteran, as I said, but no one was really talking or saying, or Dana, not that Dana was there, but I haven't heard any whisperings saying Tony should retire. I mean, he's still entertaining. He's still a huge fan favorite. I was walking back from dinner the night before, and Tony and his team were walking in front of us, and fans just stopping him left, right, and center. He's still selling fights. He's still showing his moments of brilliance. But I just wonder whether leading up to the fight, he was saying five fights and a title. That was what he was saying. I wonder now whether it's let's have some fun fights. Let's fight some other veterans. Let's continue to be a fan favorite. I just wonder whether that goal of the titles just slipped that too far away at this point. But it's crazy how his trajectory has changed, because it's like the pandemic and the things that happened that stopped him fighting Habib. If they hadn't happened, we could be having a completely different conversation about Tony right now.
You
So
know,
I was sad with that loss. Bobby's a great guy, a nice interview with him, and all respect him. But it was hard to watch Tony lose again.
it's just a shame seeing like this downfall. And I
Mm,
saw someone talking about it, does Tony fight in the UFC again? Like sixth fight. He
mm,
said he's gonna talk with Hunter, Dana, and his team. But
yeah.
if you had to say, would you say Tony fights again in the UFC?
I think unless someone interjects and strongly advises him not to, whether it's family, whether it's team, whether it's Dana Hunter, I think he probably will. I
Yeah.
think he probably will, because he said he felt better than ever. He said he felt faster in training than ever. And I think when you're a fighter and you feel that good, why? Continues to earn money from the sport. Like I say, getting his name out there. He's doing a lot of things outside the sport. He got a degree, or is doing a degree, sorry, from the Harvard Business School. He's talked about all the businesses he's setting up. He has his future laid out, but I just don't think he's done. Even if a lot of people might say he should be, I just don't think he is.
I mean, there's always fun fights
Mm.
out there, especially for a fan favorite like Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
never know. You never know what's going on. And the next fight, Derek Lewis, you know, this was a tough fight for him. People thought,
Yeah.
altitude, people were saying he's on a losing streak, but he comes
Yeah.
out there and throws a flying knee and it lands. So only Derek Lewis, though, only Derek Lewis. Like,
I don't
what are your
even know
thoughts?
if I don't know if he thought that was going to land. He said to me afterwards in our interview, he said it's something he'd been trying, but it never quite sort of landed necessarily, or in training, or felt that it was the right opponent or time to do it. And he said, "Well, just may as well give this a go," and he did it. But it just reminded us who Derek Lewis is. We got to see that celebration as well that I think we've all missed. When he hasn't had a chance to do it in the previous fights, but that was vintage Derek Lewis. He's been on this losing streak, but I think showing he always surprises me for such a big guy how agile, fast, and explosive he is, as well as having the heavy hands and the power that a lot of heavyweights have. And I think that was on display on Saturday night. So for me, that was a great moment. And I think, as well as the fact we'd had all these finishes anyway, I think that performance lit the crowd up massively at that point in the night. I mean, 100%. And I think, like I said, the celebrations just took it to the next level. But as to kind of who he fights next, I don't know. Like, he's a free agent. He said he'd like to stay in the UFC, but look, there's the PFL that have Francis Ngannou. Whoever fights Francis is guaranteed, I don't know what it is, like 2 million or something pretty big. Next year, when Francis does his PFL fight, MMA fight next year, maybe that's on the table for him, a rematch there. In terms of like who else in that top 10 does he fight? I mean, he's fought a lot of them. There might be some names, he wants to rematch, but I think he wants to get in there quite soon. Get a contract sorted and get in there quite soon, because didn't take any damage, didn't exhaust himself in any way. And I'm sure hopefully he'll sign with the UFC still, and we get to see him back in there pretty soon.
Yeah, no, you're right. He has fought a lot of the top 10. I mean, maybe
Mm.
you look at like the Tuivasa rematch, something like that.
Mm.
He said he loves the UFC. But one thing he said is he hates the media members. I saw that clip laughing about
I
it.
know. He does, but I think it's like a love-hate relationship. But it's interesting with his diet and how he's changed, with his training as well. He said to me afterwards, I said, "Are you going to make this a lifestyle now?" He had a bit of a six-pack when he weighed in. He'd been, training at altitude, but also like reining in his diet, like really taking it seriously for about 11 weeks. And I said, "Is this a lifestyle? Is it going to continue?" It's like, I don't know. He said, "I love my soda." And, I can't remember what drink it said. He was, couldn't wait to drink again, like a Mountain Dew or I don't know, something like that, like a sugary soda. But it suits him. He was fast and he looked like, the Derek Lewis we love. So I hope, certainly for camps, that's the way he's going to train and treat his body, because that's the sort of performances we want to see more of.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope we continue to get this from Derek Lewis. I hope the UFC resign. I'm sure every fan
Yeah.
probably wants him back too. I'm sure Dana would want him back in the
Yeah.
UFC. And the
Yeah.
co-main event, Alex Pereira,
Mm.
Jan Blachowicz. I mean, everyone's talking about this all week, crazy fight.
Mm.
And some people were like, I'd be shocked if it was a decision. And we get
Mm.
a decision. Now, Jan got the first round, clear first round.
Yeah.
Second was Alex. But how do you judge that kind of fight? Do you
Mm.
judge the control time? Do you judge the damage? This is something everyone goes back and
Yeah.
forth on. How did you judge that?
Well, for me, and I'll be completely transparent, I was interviewing Derek Lewis
Yeah.
during round 2 and 3. And this
Okay.
is what happens for us backstage. So I then have to like quickly go back and look at like an MMA junkie write up, or try and just see the highlights to formulate the questions I want to ask them. And it's always like just as the night unfolds. So I saw round 1, and the fact that Jan went for the takedown and shot so soon surprised me a little bit. Probably was the most sensible thing for him to do anyway. But we were all a bit, oh wow, yeah, he said he wanted to test himself on his feet. Clearly he changed his mind, or he wasn't going to give the game plan away either way. So I definitely scored that first round to Jan. I heard there was that sort of head kick in, maybe I think it might have been the second round, that, you know, sort of slightly stunned or sort of woke Jan up, if you like. But from just the highlights I've seen and the sort of narrative from other people, you look at the way when that fight finished, Jan's sitting on the floor, looking exhausted, looking defeated. Alex is walking around with his arms up. So as a judge, as anyone watching, that says a lot. I think Israel Adesanya in his sort of like watch along talked about that as well. I think again, I think from what I saw, even in that first round and the highlights, and I will go back and watch this. Actually, I like to do that a few days afterwards. But Jan had the takedowns, but was he really doing something with those takedowns? The scoring's changed now. A takedown is really more of a positional change than it, and Michael Bisping talks about this actually on his round. It's more of a positional change than it is necessarily a scoring factor. So you've still got to do something with that. And I think Alex showed pretty good sort of defense and ability to get back up onto his feet. It wasn't the fight that maybe I'd hoped to see, as in like loads of those kicks and fast pace and the Polish power and all that Brazilian power and all that come together. But I think we got to see, you know, some evolving of Alex's game that we haven't necessarily seen before. And I just feel sorry for Jan, because after the Ankalaev draw and then losing the title before that, I just think he has to, even if some people feel it maybe could have or should have gone his way, I just feel like it needed to be more to guarantee himself that title shot. Speaking to Glover Teixeira backstage, he was even surprised it was a split decision. I mean, obviously it's his man, but he said, you know, I thought it was a unanimous decision. So it's not a robbery, but I think it was just very close. It was
Yeah,
very close, and it comes down to, like you say, how you score it.
yeah, no, it was a very close fight. And, I feel like elevation definitely played a factor on both guys. You saw Alex slow down a little bit too. And now, am I crazy
Yeah.
to think this? Seems like we're getting Alex Yuri next. Say Alex goes out there and beats Yuri, Alex Izzy 3. I think that has the potential to be one of, if not the biggest fights the UFC ever puts
Yeah.
on. Like, what is
Yeah.
this whole situation, you think?
Yeah, that happened. He always said he wanted to at least do 2 fights at 205, because you don't adapt your body in that way and then strip it back again so soon. And two-weight world champion obviously sounds appealing. The light heavyweight division is wide open. I mean, the title's just changing hands. I mean, isn't it crazy that what's happened to Jamal Hill and doing the same as Yuri, like vacating the belt, and that's an honorable thing to do if you know you're going to be out for a while. But I think Yuri and Alex is a fun fight. I'd like to see how they size up, because having seen them separately but not together, I feel like Yuri's a lot bigger. I could be wrong. I think again we've got quite that sort of slight contrast in styles again as well. I think it would be an exciting matchup. But Alex looked really thick, like as in like his size at 205 was solid. And he said, from being a kickboxer to now an MMA fighter, doing more of the wrestling and the grappling, he said you just put on that thickness, and it becomes even harder to strip that back to middleweight. So, but I do think there's unfinished business at middleweight. I think he will go down and have that trilogy with Israel. And he wants it to be at middleweight as well, because he said that's where we're one-on-one. That's where he wants to fight him. So, and lots of people were talking about, maybe Alex would be slower at 205, but he fought light heavyweight in kickboxing. It's not like this is a new thing for him. But I think we'll see him, whether he wins or loses, we'll see him have that title shot next. I mean, there may be an argument for Ankalaev, but I don't think that's really what's exciting the UFC. And then, I think we'll see him come down again. So, it's exciting.
Yeah, no, it's funny you said that, because I was watching Bisping's podcast after the fight, and he said, people were saying, Alex looked a tiny bit slower, but do you kind of just feel like maybe that was the elevation, again, a little tired, plus defending all those takedowns from Jan,
Yeah,
the fastest?
I think it's several. I mean, elevation could be a factor.
Yeah.
Jan looked tired as well. I don't think it's. Bisping said that, and I thought, I don't think it's the exercise, because, like you said, he's fought at that weight, kickboxing, and been very fast on his feet. It was just a different style of fight than what we've seen him in before. So it's going to look different, like you say. Having to carry the weight of Jan on your back, and the sort of wrestling takedown and trying to get back onto his feet. I think it's very a very wearing style. But the fact they both looked exhausted, I think maybe leans towards the altitude and the nature of the fight, really, if I was to assess that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever's next for Alex, I'm sure everyone's going to be excited. It's probably the Yuri fight. And now, the main event, BMF title fight everyone was there for. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. Now, man, the first round was close. And then the second round, Justin, even Dustin said, I did not expect Justin Gaethje to throw head kicks. Like, that kind of shocked me, especially in the first round. Justin lands the kick. What's the reaction? Like, what's your reaction? You're
We
surprised?
just, well, actually, it was funny because Alex Pereira was in the middle of an interview with someone else, but we could see the monitors. So as it landed, like you could see he caught it out the corner of his eye. And in the middle of his interview, it's like, oh my God. And everyone's just like jumping out of their seats. That's like, I love that interaction we get backstage, watching the other fighters react to the fighters. But I think just unanimously, everyone was just like, wow. One, because like you said, it wasn't necessarily what we'd expect Justin to throw as his primary or his sort of killer move. But then he showed some footage, or someone showed some footage of him and Trevor Whitman in the backstage throwing that kick, not necessarily as high, but that right kick. So it was immediately just Leon Edwards. That's what we all thought. It was Salt Lake, same shot, other leg, same result. I mean, he did say wish he hadn't landed that final sort of hammer fist or follow-up punch, but I guess he didn't know whether it was going to pop up or what that outcome would be. But it was a two real BMFs, like two of the best in the division, two former interim champions, both who have lost to Habib, both who have lost to Oliveira. They're very similar in many ways. Maybe going into it, I was slightly leaning towards Dustin, only because I thought who he's fought of late, the wins he's had, the performances he's had. But in that first round, I was like, okay, it's pretty even. I mean, Masvidal seemed to think Dustin was winning that first round. I'd have to sort of watch again. I think it was pretty even. I think Justin was doing a good job again of those sort of lower leg kicks. But yeah, Justin's put it. It's amazing how that result has changed the trajectory for both of them in the way that it does. That was, as they both said, a legacy fight. It was a fight that got them the next shot pretty much at the title. And I think the one, in this case, Dustin, that it didn't go his way, you're suddenly in a position where you've got to climb again. Who next? What next? He's not just going to fight any up and comer. He's always just wanted the fights that excite him. So I feel sad for Dustin, and I think he feels it may have impacted his legacy, which I don't think is the case. But for Justin, he gets the choice now. Well, not a choice. It will be the choice we made for him. But he either gets the rematch he desperately wants with Oliveira, or he gets new blood, or maybe the Habib revenge, if you're to look at it like that. If it's Islam that takes him.
Yeah, I mean, it was it's a tough fight in general because, these two great guys in the sport. You don't want to see either of them lose, especially like that.
Yeah.
And you said it, title shot, Islam Oliveira is October, but funny, Conor McGregor, though, he tweets out after the fight, I'll KO you in one shot. Yesterday, Gaethje says sign the contract. Gaethje's teasing
Yeah.
it a little bit. You think that's all just, them playing around, or you think there's something there? Maybe Gaethje would actually take a fight with Conor McGregor.
I mean, the way it's lined up right now is that Connor and Chandler are going to fight, but I think we're all, is that going to happen? When's it going to happen? Etc. Like Connor's always going to react and put his name in the mix when people are in that division and the way people are talking. They've gone backwards and forwards on Justin saying you're only fight guys coming off losses, and Connor pointed out actually you fought more people coming off losses than I have. So there's a fun little backs and forwards. Look, I think Justin's main goal is getting the title, but I think he'd be crazy not to take that fight given the money that would be involved in a Conor. It's life-changing money involved in a Conor McGregor fight, and everyone always wants to tune in to watch Conor. So I don't know. I don't think it's the next fight we see Justin in. I think that's the title shot. But if Conor still wants it and that's the narrative he's going with, then and Justin accepts it, it could go that way in the future. But Justin's immediate thing was get yourself in the drug test pooling, or whatever, get yourself tested and whatever. He doesn't want to fight anyone that he is saying is he believes might be taking drugs. So there's just lots of backwards and forwards, but I think it makes it fun when Connor chirps up and gets in the mix with it all.
Nah, it's always fun seeing Connor in the sport. I hope we get to see him soon. But last
Yeah.
thing here, if Dana White calls Gaethje and says, Gaethje, I'm going to give you two options. You can fight the winner of Islam Oliveira, but I can't promise you it's going to be till maybe the spring. Or you can fight Conor McGregor in, December, January, and you win that, you're definitely getting a title shot. But I also offer you a lot of money in this fight. You think Gaethje even thinks about it at all?
I mean, it'd be crazy not to think about it, depending on the amount of money on the table. I mean, it's clear what he wants. He wants the winner of Oliveira, and when is that? October. So,
Yeah.
that fight could be early next year, depending on how it plays out and what damage. There's also Volkanovski sitting in the wings that might want to once he's healed from his surgery, he might try and sort of fast track in there as well. Like nothing's been guaranteed to Justin. Like the UFC haven't guaranteed anything. If they, I think he would maybe take a Conor fight if Alex Volkanovski was to sweep in there after this fight and want that, or that what made sense for the UFC. But otherwise, I think it's his fight. But money talks, or big money talks. Dustin did similarly. He took the Conor fight, didn't he, rather than waiting for the title shot. So we'll see.
It's certainly going to be interesting to see how this lightweight division plays out. There's a lot of moving pieces going on right now. We have to see how that all plays out. But for you, Caroline, thanks again for your time. It really is
of course.
catching up, recapping. Everyone go check out her work at TNT Sports now. And if you want to shout out anything, the floor is yours, Caroline.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, check out my Instagram as well at Caroline Pearce. I put a lot of snippets of the interviews on there, so a lot of behind the scenes that you don't get to see, and of course in my sort of other world and business, all my fitness workouts as well. So yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah, thanks again. We'll catch up again soon. Have a great day.
Sounds good. Take care. Good to speak to you. Bye.